we are going to have our guests join us in about 5 minutes. I think they might be already on. But this has been great. It's great seeing all you videos and ideas. Um, Candice, I see that you are on. I know we still have a couple of minutes, but you want to say anything while we are prepping? I know Yulia, she's having some technical issues, but um, I don't think we had a guest last week, but I don't know if you all met Candice yet. So Candice is the CEO and founder of Live Out Live, and we are working partnering with Live Out Live this year for industry sessions to bring guest professionals to the different sessions. So I can't believe we're on week four already. We're on week four. So this is our second week of guest professionals for the different sessions. Some of you all have met Candice in the other sessions, but with that said, Candice, I'll turn it over to you. I know Yulia's out, so we can switch over to our guests.
Nice. Okay, great. I know Carla's here with us, so she will be joining us in a quick moment. But I wanted to just say hello to everyone. Hi to everyone that I've been a part of their sessions in the past week or so, and hello to all the new faces that I have not met. I'm Candice, the CEO and founder of Live Out Live, as Skylar mentioned. Live Out Live creates access and opportunity for young people to have access into the live music concert business, but overall the music business in general. And so we're excited to partner with Skylar on industry sessions this semester to bring in some really great industry professionals who are peers and friends of mine and colleagues and people in the industry who I have great regard and respect for, that I know that you guys will enjoy hearing insights and learning from. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed the guests that we brought in so far. This is our first time joining the content creator session. And I have Carla joining us today from the Recording Academy. I'll allow Carla a moment to introduce herself shortly, but I know that Yulia will be moderating the session with Carla today. So I'm excited to hear from both of you guys. So thank you so much again, Skylar and Carla. I don't know where you are, but there she is. Hi, Carla.
Hi, can everyone hear me all right? Awesome. They're doing construction right now on the roof on like the worst possible day. So I had to bust out the mic so everyone can hear me clearly.
You sound great, Carla. Thank you so much. And thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Of course. So Yulia, I don't know if you want to jump on and you guys take it away.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulties right here.
No worries.
Okay, cool. Carla, nice to see you. So great to meet you. I haven't actually met you in person, but I'm so happy to see you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career, about your life as a content creator, about your work at the Grammy Museum, or sorry, the Grammys, the Recording Academy, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Carla. Currently, I am the community manager at the Recording Academy. I've been with the Academy a little over a year now. My yearly anniversaries will always take place during Grammy season. When I started at the top of 2024, it was 3 weeks out of the Grammys, and it was kind of trial by fire, really. But I've been working in music for 10 years. 8 of those years, or 8.5 to 9 of those years, were all in radio. That's where I got my start. I like to say my career is a happy accident because when I went to school, I studied screenwriting. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to work in TV, but I needed a job. So I applied to every single entertainment company out there, and radio was the first place to bite. And honestly, from the second I got hired, I absolutely loved it. I was a promo assistant. It was part-time. I was making $11 an hour, but I loved every second of it, and it really propelled my career. And honestly, I'm glad that I stuck with music, especially now that I do digital and content creation. I'm kind of merging my love of storytelling and filmmaking in the social media sphere, and connecting my love with music and concerts and festivals and everything like that. Outside of music, I love to eat. I don't eat meat, so I love finding new vegetarian vegan spots. I love iced coffee, obsessed. I'm also a Disney adult, so I love going to Disneyland and going to like Disney fairs and things like that. And I have 2 dogs.
I love yeah, when I worked in radio, I got paid $10 an hour. So yeah,
Wow.
what radio station did you work at?
So in LA, I worked at K Rock, I worked at 97.1 Amp, I worked at KNX, The Wave, and K Earth, and then I actually also worked in Bay Area radio as well. So I worked with those stations out there. So 99.7 Now, KBLX, Coit, and KFox.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about industries. You position yourself as the industry big sister on TikTok. So what steps did you take to shape that persona, and how does it help you connect with your audience on social media?
Honestly, it kind of just happened. So when I started my TikTok, I downloaded the app in 2019, and this was when I was a video content producer in radio in Los Angeles. And so everyone's talking about TikTok. So I simply downloaded the app for market research, really, to see if this was something that we could implement for our stations. And I didn't really understand it until the pandemic happened. And I was obsessed, and it became so much fun. So my TikTok actually started by me doing fun trends. And then I did a trend where I niched it down and I talked about concert photography. And then from there, people started asking me questions about photography in music and concerts and working in music. And then it kind of just blew up into your music industry big sis. And the reason why I positioned myself and my personal brand as that is because I want to be the big sister that I needed when I first started in this industry. Like I said, I didn't intend to work in music. So my schooling was a lot different. I didn't have any mentors when I first started. I kind of was winging it. And so I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot on the way, on the way to what I'm doing now. And so that's why I position myself as your music industry big sis, just because I just want to create a safe space for people to ask any questions, because no question is ever stupid. And then I also wanted to let others, because I'm Filipino American, and so I wanted to show that other people of color are welcome in this space and they are needed in this space. And that's my whole brand with music industry big sister, and like my TikTok and everything.
Jack, can you share your TikTok in the comment? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
You're muted.
A lot of our students here are artists, and so many artists struggle with showing up authentically online. So how do you balance honesty, professionalism, and professional boundaries in your content? And what advice would you give artists who are making content on social media? What advice would you give them?
You said the word right there, authenticity, and being authentic and being who you are. I'm not a musician or an artist or anything like that. So I don't know what it's like to kind of be vulnerable in that sense and share music and share lyrics and share that part of my life. But authenticity is something that am I think that's just the new way of social media. I want to say like 10 years ago when I first started, and Instagram was barely a thing. I don't think TikTok didn't exist yet. I think we still had Vine at that point. And it was about kind of being fake or showcasing a contrived version of who we are. But now it's moving towards relatability and authenticity and who you are as a person. A lot of people don't want to see influencers now. People want to relate to the people and the content that they're consuming. So the best advice I have for any artists that are kind of struggling and teetering with, do I show music? Do I show myself? And, just be you, be authentically you, because your people, your circle, your fans, your supporters are going to like you for you. And then on the added bonus, they're going to relate to you as a person and then relate to your music as well.
I love that because I think we talk about that a lot in class about how to build yourself. So I have the students fill out a content persona, just like filling out what they love, what they like, and then sharing content about that. And that really helps them because sometimes when people say, oh, just be authentic or just make content what you love, it's a little bit hard. So creating a framework to help them understand how to make this content, like how can we show ourselves? Sometimes it's a hard or as easy as just writing down your interests, just write them all
Mhm,
down and then try to make content around what you love. And I think that
mhm.
because I think, like you said, people don't want to see influencers anymore. And so having people show their true selves and not their influencer selves is really important. So yeah, those are really
Yeah.
great points. Does
And I
any
can see how difficult it can be showing your real self on the internet, that can be really scary. But I think, like you said, if you write down your interests, there's a niche for everything. And so if you are someone who enjoys specifically going to the beach at 5 p.m. because of this specific thing, I promise it's not a one-time person lived experience. There are other people who can probably relate to that and will get excited alongside you.
I love that. Yeah, you're right. Like the more niche your interests are, like the more interesting people are go or interested people will be. So yeah, that's really great. So another question that I had was, what's one mistake you consistently see emerging artists make when they're trying to grow their presence online? Like, what do you see, and how could they fix that mistake, or how can they shift into something more authentic?
Mhm. So when it comes to social media, a lot of people try to be perfect right off the bat, or they wait for the most perfect time. They wait till they have the latest iPhone, or they wait till, they have really good audio equipment, or they wait until they have their makeup done, or they have the perfect outfit, or maybe they wait till, they've been in the gym for a few months and lose a little weight. But the thing about social media and just the digital atmosphere in general, it moves so quickly. So there really isn't any time for you to find the perfect time. The perfect time is now. And being online and a social presence definitely takes some time. You're not going to blow up overnight. And it's all about experimenting. So if you don't have any social presence whatsoever, just jumping on and trying different trends and just having fun with it. Sometimes, because in this day and age, there's so many influencers who are making money off of social media. And so I think that um, that kind of influences people who want to get into social media. They feel like they have to look a certain way or sound a certain way or film in a very certain way, when social media should just be fun. I always say, like, it's PR, not the ER. Like, social media should just be fun and like have a good time with it. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, you're not hurting yourself, and you're having a good time and you're putting out that good energy, that's what it's all about. That's social media. It should be a lot of fun. And so for artists who are struggling with what to post and how to do it, just do it. That's actually some of the best advice I received when I first started working in music. My old boss just said, just do it. Be like Nike and just do it. And you never know what's gonna hit, what's gonna click. Like I said at the very beginning of this call, I started TikTok, one, to research, and two, I just started doing fun little trends until the right video kind of clicked. And then that's when the whole brand kind of came to fruition. And it just kind of started from there. So you just post, have fun, and you never know what's going to really click with you.
I like that. It kind of reminds me of when we're kids and we're like playing jump rope, like two kids are on the other side and you're seeing kids jump in and you're
Mhm.
like, ah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Sometimes you just got to jump in and then it'll go. Like you will flow through it.
Mhm. Exactly. You just got to jump in, and not every video is going to be a hit. Some are going to be a flop. Some aren't going to do very well. You might feel kind of dumb trying something. I mean, for me, even personally, if I'm out for the academy filming content, like I'll do little vlogs, filming in public for me is so embarrassing. I just feel so weird. But it's also like I have to think about the bigger picture and what the final video is going to look like. So even in the moments where I feel like, oh, I don't want to film myself, like I don't want to have my phone and just like do this, at the end of the day, it's going to make for really good content. And then I'll be glad that I, did it.
Yeah, I love that. And like talking more about the Academy, tell us about the content that you make there, and then maybe any content series or content pillars. Like, how did you develop the strategy for building content for the Academy? And then yeah, like break it down for us so we understand a little bit more.
Absolutely. So, in case anyone doesn't know, at the Academy, yes, we have the Grammys, which takes place in February, but we are a nonprofit and we have so many initiatives that are year round. Right now, I'm the lead for AAPI month, which is next month. So I'm working on the marketing plan for that, the key messaging. I'm working with our social media director to figure out what content pieces. We're planning a content shoot for in the offices. And so that's just one campaign. But then after that, we have Pride Month, we have Black Music Month, we have something called OEP, online entry process, which is the process in which media companies and artists submit music for Grammy consideration. I just got back from DC a couple of weeks ago for Grammys on the Hill, which is all of our advocacy efforts. And that was a lot of fun. And so we have all of these different tentpole events and campaigns throughout the year that takes us from, at the very end to Grammys, and then it takes us right back into the Grammys. So it's a cycle every single year. So we use that as a base. And then from there, we just kind of figure out what can we do different from last year? What can we learn from last year that we can do a little bit differently? What's something that we want to repeat and do again? And like I mentioned, I feel like social media should be fun. Yes, we also want to talk about mission-based content series. So anything about advocacy or just being at the academy and being a member of the academy, we definitely want to amplify those type of posts as well. But on the TikTok side of things, for example, I just posted, I don't know if you've seen that trend, but it's the I've never seen my friends or coworkers run at full speed. So it's the most funniest trend to me. And so while I was out in DC, my coworkers and I were just around the monuments, and we said, I just want to film this. Can you guys just run the fastest you can and let me film it? And I put that up on TikTok because it might just be a silly trend, but at the end of the day, it humanizes the academy. And that's kind of what we want to do. There's this connotation that the academy is just old white guys that are just stale and bitter and they don't like music, when the academy is us, it's you, it's me, it's so many people, and there's so much diversity and people that come from everywhere that are a part of the academy, whether that's membership or staff. And so when we get to show the silly side of us through trends or day in the life vlogs or anything like that, that really humanizes us as a brand and shows people that, you know what, like, we're not stuffy. Like, you and I were the same. I bought Jonas Brothers tickets a couple of weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure there's people outside of the academy that are just excited as I am. And that's something that we could relate to. So, it's relatability. It's our mission-based content at the academy, and then also pushing forth all the other things we do outside of the Grammys. I know Grammys are a huge deal, but the things that we do behind the scenes, like our advocacy work, for example, are just as important and pivotal to changing music history.
Yeah, I love that because it sounds like there's the initiatives, like you are the person, well, the content, it talks about advocacy, but then there's also the fan, like from the
Yep.
fan's perspective as well. So, because we talk a lot about personas in this class, like what is a persona that you're sharing? And then who is the target audience? And so when I hear you say that, I can see your strategy where it's the advocacy and then it's also the fan talking to the fan. So it's like fan to
Mhm.
fan and then more like institution to fans. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really great breakdown. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my other question is, let's see, how'd you decide? Oh, okay, you answered that one. What do you say to artists who think their music should speak for itself and resist making video first content like covers, behind the scenes, or commentary? So I think with this one, I think sometimes artists will say like, oh, I'm just gonna let my music speak for itself, and they don't speak for their music. And so what advice would you give them on kind of getting out of that mindset and making more covers and behind the scenes and more commentary content?
You know what? This is a great question because after working at the academy for the last year or so, I've met a lot of different artists, and a lot of artists are kind of in that same boat. They know social media is important to marketing their music and everything, but they also see themselves as performers and musicians first, as songwriters first. And, now they have to wear multiple hats. Not only are they engineers, producers, songwriters, and they just want to be an artist, but now they have to be a social media influencer too. I can see how very scary and intimidating that could be. But I think it kind of just goes back to that word, authenticity. Yes, your music is going to speak for you, but who's writing that music? You are, and you are part of that story, and that is so important. And it doesn't mean all the artists should do fun trends or anything like that and be vulnerable online or anything like that. But for those that are open to having a little bit more of a social media presence. I think it could do wonders for marketing your music and even telling the behind the scenes of a specific song. Maybe there was a song that you wrote after a really bad heartbreak, or maybe you got fired from a job and it resulted in this song that you're just super proud of. I think there's just so many different avenues, and the internet and social media is this landscape of possibilities. It's just this wide open field of you can do anything. There really is no rules, especially when it comes to you, your brand, your music, and what you want to post. So whatever makes sense with you, and like that makes sense with your music, and whatever is gonna make you comfortable, I think that's the best advice I have for artists.
Yeah, I think that's a really great advice because I think that in the past, like in the 2000s or the 90s, the 80s, a lot of artists would go to like MTV and TRL, or they would get interviews by magazines, or they get interviewed by all these people. And there's so many mediums where people would make, like talk about their music. And
Mhm.
so I think that because all of those institutions are basically being, like collapsing because of social media, especially TikTok, or short form video algorithms, I think that giving artists advice about sharing the story behind the music in a different way is really helpful, because I think for me, that's the hardest part when I talk to students or when I talk to other artists. I think that they have a hard time kind of like being vulnerable on social media because everybody uses it in a different way. But I tell them, like, think it's TRL, just pretend like it's TRL. Pretend like it's literally pretend like you're like having an interview on GQ and you're just sharing that with us and we're gonna be part of it. And so yeah, that's such great advice because it can be really hard for like artists to see that
Yeah,
sometimes.
it really can be. And I totally like, I'm part of different fandoms as well. I mean, I grew up being a fangirl. I grew up writing fan fictions and and I had fan accounts for the Jonas Brothers and everything like that. So I can understand also the scary side of social media, where the more you put yourself out there, the more of these parasocial relationships start to pop up. And then your fans and people on the other side of the phone feel like um, you have to owe them everything about your life just because they're your fans and they support you. So I can understand there's also like the scary side of it, but I definitely think it's all about balance and having your grounding, and also like a really good village and team around you as well. And I know for up and coming artists, they might not have a team. Maybe the team is them and their best friend, or them and their mom, but it's also about, what's going to work for you.
Yeah, that's really great advice because I think now more than ever, artists, like we're seeing artists coming out without having to go through the institutions, like the old institutions of music, but also you have to put a lot of hats on, like you said. And sometimes it's you and your mom working together to get you to that next level and kind of building a prototype. But eventually you will get there. You just have to kind of put a lot of hats on, like you said. So you said well, you've worked behind the scenes as a creator. You work behind the scenes, and then you've also worked as a creator. What's one lesson or a few lessons that about artist audience building that artists miss when they're only focused on performing? Like you said, what is something that they need to learn about building an audience on social media that they miss?
So the way I see it is, when you're building an audience, you're building a community. I really don't like saying the word fans. Personally, for me, like when I do my personal TikTok, I never say my fans. I always say I'm building a community. I'm building a basket of buddies, like my besties, like people that I can be vulnerable with, people that I can, relate to and talk to and keep it real with. And I think as artists, I think that's an important way to see it. You're building a community of people that you can just be real with. And I love it when artists can be very candid. And I know that's such a scary thing, especially as musicians and songwriters. You're already being so candid and vulnerable in your music. Like, what more can you put out there? But I also do love it when artists are candid and they have relationships with their fans, and their fans can kind of call them out on something, even if something so silly like, girl, I don't know if that lipstick color worked on you, but you looked great anyway, kind of thing. And I think it's just about building a community and a good support system, and when it comes to social, again, like there's that scary side of it with the parasocial relationships and people thinking that, you know, they need everything from you. But it's just building that community and making something great out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a creator, it's really hard sometimes when you do get negative comments or intrusive comments. And so having the boundaries, but then also being vulnerable can be hard. And so it's, I mean, you got to get like used to it in many ways too.
Mm-hmm. And
Mm.
the cool thing about social and building your brand is you only show what you want. You know, there's a lot of influencers or content creators out there that have whole lives outside of the internet, like influencers who have children that they never talk about, you know, for their protection as, you know, minors, but, you know, they have whole lives. So that's also kind of that side of it too, is you can put out what you want to put out. If you don't feel comfortable sharing something, then don't do it. You know, you want to put out kind of, you're putting out music that makes you proud, put out content that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. And then talking a little bit more about things flopping. So like when a post flops or something gets misinterpreted, how do you handle it emotionally and also strategically as a social media
Mhm.
person? How would you handle that?
Okay, so post flopping, that's just inevitable. It's gonna happen. Not everything's gonna go super viral. I have videos from the Academy side that have hit millions and millions of views, tons of engagement. But then there's the other side of it that I'll work like 12 hours on a video and work so hard and think that it's gonna do well, but it barely hits 5,000 views. And even just like on the personal side of things, on my personal TikTok, there's some that have hit, you know, 100,000 views, but then some will barely hit 400 views. So flopping is just kind of part of it, but that means you're trying. That means you're experimenting and you're trying new things and you're putting yourself out there so it happens. But there's two ways you can look at it. One, you are going to learn from it because everyone makes mistakes. And the most important thing is how you react to it and how are you going to learn from it and move forward. And then secondly, strategically, the good thing about social media is that you're able to look at your analytics, you're able to see drop off rates, you're able to look at, you know, maybe this do well because the thumbnail, or maybe it's SEO. A lot of social media run as if it's Google. So hashtags are kind of not really working on social media these days. So a lot of people are using TikTok and Instagram and just writing out best recipe for Alfredo pasta instead of hashtag Alfredo pasta. They're just typing it in as if it were Google. And so maybe it's your SEO or your captions or your copy. It could be a ton of things. But the cool thing is that social platforms have these tools that you can utilize for you to check out and see what you can do better for your next video. And algorithms are going to change it. You know, at the Academy, we feel like the algorithms are constantly changing and we feel like we have to constantly adjust, but it's just so hard to keep up. And working at the Academy for such a huge brand that has like notoriety, there are several you know, things down the pipeline. We have to go through certain measures and go through certain people approvals and everything, so we can't constantly change our strategy every 6 months just because Instagram decided that carousels are more important or reels are more important. So it's just more so taking it video by video or post by post, and again just having fun with it. And that's the importance of building a community. When you build a community who enjoy you and your content, then it almost doesn't matter what you post, because they're there for you and your music and who you are and what value you're bringing to them.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't, because like me as a creator, I think about, oh my gosh, I have to change my new strategy because TikTok just changed the algorithm for content and now I can't do green screen anymore or whatever. So so that's a great point. How does a bigger brand like the Recording Academy have to change content that maybe they had already planned out 6 months in
Hmm.
advance for something like a change in the algorithm? So.
Yeah, it's all about, I mean, our social media director has this whole content strategy, and it's more so, it's less about tools like, okay, we're going to use the green screen feature on TikTok 3 times a week, and we're going to do this and that. It's less like that and more so, what value are we bringing to our audience? What do we want to tell our audiences? Do we want to show them more Academy faces? What mission-based content do we want to push? Do we want to talk more about advocacy? Do we want to talk more about our DEI initiatives? So when it comes to strategy on the Academy side, and this goes for working in radio as well, it's just more so, what are we bringing to the table rather than, yeah, let's do the green screen video 3 times a week.
Great. Okay, cool. Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, because I think it could be really inundating. So no, I definitely, I definitely, I empathize. So rejection shows up a lot in a lot of different forms, especially in the music industry. So how do you learn to navigate it without losing momentum? That it as a creator, and then also advice for artists. How can they deal with rejection in terms of the algorithm and then just the music industry in general?
Yeah. So I like to see rejection as redirection. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard that phrase before, but it is so true. And sometimes rejection is just a blessing in disguise. So, fun fact, I've been let go twice in my career. The first time was in 2017. I was working in radio, but I was kind of just teetering between, do I continue this? Do I stay put and try to fight for a better salary and all of these other things? And I decided to leave because I ended up getting a new job, a new role that I thought was going to be the start of a brand new career. Their clientele was a lot of rock bands that I grew up listening to. They were very close to my home at the time. So I was not going to have to drive 33 miles one way from Anaheim all the way to mid city LA. And I just thought it was going to be a brand new blessing and just like this brand new start. But 6 days later, after getting hired, I got fired via email. And that really broke me. And I was, I think, 2 years into my industry career at this point. And so I was just like, oh my God, like what happened? Like I was so excited and it was really bad. But now that I'm looking back, I'm glad that it happened because one, that company no longer exists. A lot of things came out from the dirt, and apparently they had been doing wrong to so many different people, different employees and artists and everything. So they no longer exist. Two, because I got let go, I returned to radio. I called up my own boss and I said, hey, can I come back? And he said, absolutely, you can come back. So I went back to radio. And had I not gone back to radio, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to move from the LA team to work to the national team. I wouldn't have the opportunity to lead a whole digital department working in San Francisco Bay Area radio. And then had I not gone back to radio and continued developing my skills and building a resume and a portfolio, I wouldn't be here at the Academy right now. So it's been several years since 2017 and I got let go that first time, but looking back on it, it really was a blessing in disguise. So for everyone that's here, rejection is going to happen, but it's all about, okay, what are you going to learn from it? Yes, please allow yourself to like wallow and like be in your emotions. That's really important too, but also what are you going to do? How are you going to rise above? How are you going to like move forward from this situation and become bigger, better, and not bitter?
I like that. Yeah, because I think for me, I had the same, like a similar experience where I used
Mm-hmm.
to work at a tech company. I think it was like 2023. I was let go because of layoffs. And before then, I was just a social media shadow person. I
Mm-hmm.
was always in the shadows. I was never a content creator. And I had to force myself to become a content creator. I said, okay, I'm going to go full force
Mm-hmm.
on this. I'm going to do this. And I got accepted to the TikTok creator program. So like, and I'm just doing way more. I'm trying to get into the YouTube creator
Mm-hmm.
program. And I'm like, if I didn't do this, I would not be a content creator. And now everyone needs to become a content creator. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, this was a great thing. It's like I got pushed off the nest early, but that's okay because now I just get to be here early. So
Absolutely. And
definitely.
I, during the pandemic, I want to say maybe it was towards the end of March, early April, I got let go again in radio because they were just laying off everybody at that point. I think our digital department, they let go of the majority of everyone. I think they kept like 2 or 3 people on to the team. But because I had been let go once before and I had was able to handle it as mature as I did, I was able to tell myself, okay, this sucks, but this is not the end for me. My future is bright. I can see it. I can feel it. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna be okay. So, and I took pandemic time to revamp my whole entire portfolio. I worked on my website. I started creating just more content and like practicing Photoshop and having like outdoor photo shoots with my friends so I can practice portrait photography and things that I was able to just put on my resume and put on my portfolio, which then led me to then getting hired in the Bay Area and leading a whole digital department. So again, it's rejection, but it's redirection and a blessing in disguise a lot.
I love that. Yeah, because I mean, well, it leads me to my next question. If you could go back and give your younger self advice about building careers, about your building your career as a creator, what would you say now that you've been through it? Like, what would you tell yourself?
If I could go back and talk to my younger self, say 10 years ago, when she's first starting in this industry, I would tell her just stay true to yourself. Never be rude, always be kind because no one wants to work with an a-hole. I'll tell you that. And just always be authentic. I feel like that's the theme word for this entire call is just authenticity. But honestly, what people don't realize is yes, your skills are important. Yes, your experience are important, but your personality is too. And I know on TikTok and social media, people joke about being the personality hire, but really your personality and who you are as a person is so important. Just being nice, being kind, and being a good person to work with. I would also tell my younger self to keep pushing forward, and that there's always going to be times that are going to be heartbreaking and may want to break her, but just to keep going forward, and she's going to do amazing wonderful things, and to also keep a good close circle of friends in the industry. I know sometimes there's a connotation of people that work in music are all fake and people are just out to get you, but that's simply not the case. Yes, there probably are people that are willing to step on you to get to the top, but there's also so many people who are just very genuine, and working in this industry can be very rough, and no one's going to truly know what you're going through except for the people who are working alongside you. And so it's really important to have a good group of friends and supporters.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much. Those are all the questions I have. Do you guys have any questions? You can raise your hand, unmute your mic, or you can put it in the comments. The questions. Gigi?
Hi, thank you so much for speaking. I'm Gigi and I make content for my music. And I was just wondering, could you share your TikTok platform with us in the comments, please?
Yes, I would love to. Um, it's at J, Carla. So let me put that in. Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else have another question? You can also put in the comments and I can read it for you if you guys are shy. Ron?
Hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience and answer our questions. So I had, I guess, a question about, because of course, like one of the biggest lessons to learn here is being authentic in our work. Um, I also have been thinking about how, in class we've been talking about building almost like a protagonist persona for our kind of our portfolios. And so I was just wondering, how do you like balance like building, because I think you tapped on balance, and I think I would love to explore more like what you think that looks like for building a persona online while still being true to yourself.
That's such a good question. I'm a Libra, so we're all about balancing the scales, and
So
having that good balance. But when it comes to building a social media presence, and I like how you what did you say? You said like a persona, like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce when she's on stage, she's not Beyonce, she's someone else. So it's kind of like that, like who you are online, but you know, being authentic is also sharing a little bit of the real part about you. On my TikTok, personally, I always talk, I don't just talk about the fun stuff like working the Grammys and like meeting all these artists. I also show myself crying, and I tell people like I've been let go before. I've told people online that, you know, when I got promoted, it didn't feel like one because my male counterpart, who had the same job title as I, was making $7,000 more than I was. And so I get real in that way because I know at the end of the day, my value that I'm bringing to the table on my TikTok page is to educate and inspire industry professionals. So, and I can't do that unless I'm real and I tell them, hey, heads up, it's not going to be rainbows and daisies. There's going to be hard parts about it too. So as an artist and building that persona, it's all about you and what you feel comfortable sharing. For example, let's just go with heartbreak. If you're going through a really hard heartbreak because someone had cheated on you, I'm pretty sure there's hundreds, thousands, millions of people who can unfortunately relate to that, but that's how you're going to be real and candid. And that's your persona there, and just being real. And then again, what I mentioned earlier in the call is you only put out what you want to put out. If you don't want to share certain parts about you because you want to keep that to yourself, then don't share it. You know, only share what you feel you're comfortable with and what you feel like your audiences and your community can really take away from it. And maybe sometimes it's just sharing music and not speaking, or only sharing music and not opening up yourself like a diary. It's kind of whatever you want.
totally, yeah. I was just curious about like the border of like oversharing, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And you tapped on kind of your personal mission as a creator to educate and inspire. And so I guess to summarize what you said to ensure that I understand clearly, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you have your persona driven by your personal mission, and then the expression of that persona is what comes to you essentially.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So we have a few questions in the
Mhm.
comments, and then anybody else want to ask questions, just raise your hand. If you're too shy, just put it in the comments. Can you explain your role in terms of dealing with new members, I guess for the Recording Academy,
Okay.
or what it takes to become a member, if you know any information about that?
Gotcha. So if you want to be a Recording Academy member, so there are two types of memberships. We have voting members, which get to vote for the Grammys. And then we have professional members, which are members of the Academy that work on, like, they could be executives, they could be entertainment lawyers. They're more on the professional side of things. They're not so much musicians. But professional members cannot vote in the Grammys. And to become a member, there are a whole bunch of different rules. You can apply, which is the most not easiest way, but it's the more traditional way. But also Academy members, you can invite people. So also people who are already Academy members, whether that's the professional side or the musician side, the voting member side. Oh, balloons. I don't know how that happened. Wow. Okay. So
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know I could do that either. I don't know. Wow. Okay. So there's the professional side and the voting member side. They can also invite and refer. So when you try to become a member, I believe you need 2 recommendation letters and there's a whole application process. I believe they're going through memberships right now. We actually did have a kickoff call talking about new member class and, you know, just the start of the cycle of Grammy season, which technically starts with online entry process, but I always say Grammy season starts when we start inducting new members into the academy. And so that is and when you become a member, you know, there's so many cool events, you know, not just in LA, but we have 12 governing chapters across the country. And so definitely recommend joining and becoming a member. And if you need any more information, then you can check out recordingacademy.com, and they have like a whole membership page. And then also for those who aren't professional yet, or who aren't quite there yet to be a voting member, we also have Grammy U, which is for, I would say, like the next generation of professionals and musicians. And you can be in college. You don't have to be in college. You just have to be an adult, ages 18 to 29. You don't need any experience whatsoever. So there's Grammy U as well, if anyone here is interested in that.
Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you. So somebody else asked, I'd love to hear specific examples of artist content that you see as successful, maybe examples of specific artists, videos, and why they were successful.
Um, okay. Specific samples of artists. So content that I've seen other artists do, or artist content that we at the Academy have done.
Carolina, do you want to answer that? Other artists.
Other artists. Okay. So some of my favorites. So one of my favorite up and coming artists right now is Ashley Meta. She is from the Bay Area, and she is so much fun. So the type of content I love seeing her do, and it's one of my favorite things because it really shows, one, her artistic side, but it shows her creativity side as well. So she will take songs, like for example, it could be Ariana Grande, and she'll say, what if this song was written from the other perspective, or what if this song was R&B? And that's her way of taking a song, doing a cover, but putting her own twist to it. And I've seen that, you know, a lot of people love seeing crossover. As a millennial, I don't know if you remember, if anyone remembers this show. It was on VH1. It was called Crossroads, and I believe it was country music, and then they would invite another artist. So for example, it could be like Martina McBride and Nelly, and they would do a cover together, and it would be the coolest thing ever. And so that's a piece of artist content that I've seen a lot of artists do, not just Ashley Meta, but, you know, do covers but add their own spin to it. Other successful pieces of content that I've seen from artists is when they do get when they make mini movies, and I know that takes a little bit more production level and everything like that, but I've seen for example, Lynn Lapid. She was, right before she went on tour and she was promoting her latest single, she made a short, like 30-second trailer, and she said the way she wrote it was so, and it makes sense because she's an artist, she's a songwriter, so of course her writing is phenomenal, but she kind of made a movie about her and meeting this guy, and it didn't work out. And it was just so like real, but it was a movie, and it was just so, it was so well done. So those are like two of the my favorite pieces of content that I've seen artists do that have been like really successful.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Oh, she said thank you. It's so helpful. Anybody else have questions? If you don't have questions, can you guys tell Carla what you learned from her? So what are the favorite things you learned that you did not know? Like, what did you learn from this conversation? So you can put it in the comments. You can raise your hand and tell us. So I guess I can go first. So I learned from you today was about obviously the Grammy U thing. That was really cool. I didn't even know that. I was a Grammy U member when I was in college. So, but I didn't know that like you could join until you're 25, 29. So that's really great. So whoever is in this room, love that. And then Lily said, thank you so much for your message about rejection being redirection. I really liked all your stories. I think your stories are really great. And I think that we talk about that a lot, about that in class, just like our stories. And I think sometimes hearing like career stories is really important for other people to hear, either if you're an artist or you're in the other side, like you're more on the professional side of music. I think that it's so great to hear stories. And I really appreciate you just sharing your stories and being vulnerable with us.
Thank you.
Gigi said, how can you choose what goes up on social media and what are you sharing? Okay, this is a question. How you can choose, oh no, she said, how you can choose what goes up on social media and what you're sharing. Carolina said, looking at the audience as community, what a beautiful advice. And then Gigi said she thought it was powerful. Ron said, I learned so much about building a persona while maintaining our spirit. And then often said, I learned content is supposed to be fun. So yes, anybody else want to share before we wrap up? No? Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much, Carla, for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for, yeah, just bringing us on this like great conversation.
Of course. And thank you for having me. And if anyone has any questions they come up with tomorrow or next week, feel free. You could share my email and, reach out to me whenever.
Great. And then I'll send it back to Candace or Skylar. Do you guys want to wrap up?
Yeah, I'll just jump in and say what great energy and what great insight that you shared today, Carla. Thank you so much for that. And Yulia, really great questions and helping us guide the conversation. It was just really great energy, Carla. I really loved
Thank
hearing
you
from
so
you. And I
much.
hope that the young people here also enjoyed that. If there are no other questions, Carla, if you can just share again where they can find you, how they can connect with you, whether that's LinkedIn or wherever you feel most comfortable sending them. These are your future mentees. And Carla's you guys' future mentor and someone for you guys to continue to watch and gain inspiration from. So Carla, if you don't mind sharing that information before we log out, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you could definitely add me on LinkedIn if you want to search. It's Carla, Carla Jara. You could add me on Instagram. It's going to be at Carla. So I'll actually type it in. That's going to be my Instagram, and then that's also my TikTok as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks again, Skylar, for allowing us to crash your session. Well, Yulia, thank you for allowing us to crash
Yeah,
your
of
session,
course.
and we hope to do it again next week.
Well, thank you so much. This was great. Appreciate you taking the time to come speak with our students here. Candace, always a pleasure, and Yulia, you as well. Thank you, everybody who joined. Yulia, any notes for next week? Or are we?
We're good to go. Does anybody else want to share any ideas about your videos that you're sharing? So like, I know my computer just like freaked out. But I know Bianca, we were talking about making a piece of content. Does anybody have any questions about the video that's due at the end of class at the last session? Do you guys know what video you're working on and you're good? Anybody need any help or tips? No? Okay. Well, if you do have questions, you can message me, you can email me as well, and then we can talk more. But yes, we'll see you guys next week. So we have a few speakers next week. We have two live streamers the first hour. We'll talk about live streaming and podcasting, and then we'll also have another guest as well. So yeah, be ready for questions and a lot of fun next week. So yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you next week.